Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Introspect with me, Sharon Mwangi. If you're new here, karibu sana, feel at home, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. Na kama kawaida, we're going to get into the first two questions of the day, and that is, how am I doing and what am I grateful for? So one, how am I doing? If anyone was to ask me, I'd just say, yeah, I'm good, I'm fine. But the honest answer is, wait. This past week has been quite something. It's been quite a very interesting week, and I must say I am not where I wish I would be, but we are working towards getting somewhere better. Yeah, we're working towards getting somewhere better. And what am I grateful for? I am grateful for beauty. Yeah. I just got my hair done. I don't know, my fellow girlies can relate. Once you get your hair done, it's like you're a new version of yourself. So for me right now, I'm a new me. Yeah, new hairstyle, new me. In as much as the East African forehead is really making a grand debut, as you can see. Anyway, I am very grateful for beauty. Yes, I'm very grateful that I'm beautiful. Yeah. Anyway, so let's get straight into today's discussion, in today's video. So today we're going to talk about a topic that I honestly felt like running away from talking about it because I feel like it's a very touchy, mushy topic and a very sensitive thing to talk about. But I was like, you know what? Why not just talk about it? Let's just talk about it. So today we are going to talk about getting over loss. That is the process and the whole process of grief. And I have to take a deep breath for this one because I don't know. For some reason, I had like some imposter syndrome, feeling like I'm not qualified enough to talk about it, or I shouldn't talk about it in any way. But anyway, we're just gonna go ahead and talk about it. So I think part of being a human being and being in this process of life is that in one way or another, or in a particular season in your life, you'll have to lose something or someone close to you. And today this video is not just going to be about loss as far as death is concerned, because I feel like a lot of times when you talk about loss, the first thing that comes to our minds is death, like losing a loved one because of death or something like that. But I think in life we go through a lot of other losses that we probably don't talk about as much. And not to say that the loss of death is not significant. It is a very heavy situation to go through, and I can only imagine how difficult it must be for people who lose people who are very close to them. But there are also other situations in life and other things and people that we lose in our lives, not necessarily through death, but through other circumstances and other situations. And the truth of the matter is, during a season of loss, it can feel so heavy. It can feel so draining. It can feel so exhausting. It can feel like you're in this dark space and you wonder how you feel like you cannot be able to get out of it. It can be overwhelming. It can be so sad. And whatever your situation could be, it is very valid to feel that way. In life, we lose people, we lose relationships, we lose job opportunities, we miss out on good opportunities. Some doors close in our lives that we feel like, oof. I think as long as you're living life, you are bound to experience loss in one way or another. And I am no expert, in no way to say that I have mastered the art of dealing with loss and grief, because I know also personally in my own life, I do not take loss very well, and it's one of the things that is usually very hard for me to deal with. And today I just want to talk about the stages of grief. Today we're going to talk about the 5 stages of grief. And just a disclaimer, this is not to say that if you don't go through these stages, or if you don't go through each and every stage, then there's a problem or kuna issue somewhere with you. No, it's just an overview of some of the cycles and some of the emotions that we experience, or people are bound to experience when they go through a certain level of loss. So let's start with the first one. The first one is denial. Denial is when you're in that space where you have not been able to process what has just happened, to process the loss, to process that you've lost this person, to process that you've lost this opportunity. So you're still kind of in denial about it. Like, as far as you are concerned, you feel like you have not really processed and really sat in it and really acknowledged that this person is no longer in your life, or this opportunity is no longer with you, or whatever situation, you're finding it hard to see it from an objective, manner, and you are experiencing a difficulty in accepting the reality of what has just happened. Number 2, we have anger. Now, anger, I think, is one of the most confusing feelings to feel during a period of loss, because it's valid, because in this time you're really looking for someone or something to put the blame on for whatever loss you've had. You can blame other people, you blame yourself, you blame situations, you blame God, you blame whatever higher power you believe in. You try to understand, and you try to justify, or you try to see who or what could be responsible for the loss of this person. You're trying to find the person or the thing that is responsible for the loss that you have just experienced. And it's a very normal feeling, it's a normal thing to go through. And I think one of the most difficult things, especially during this season, is for those people who surround or are around the person who has just gone through loss, because this is a very confusing stage. They might be acting out, they are throwing tantrums, they are being a bit too mean, and you kind of get confused, wondering, okay, how can I help? How can I support? How come I'm the problem now? How come it's my problem? How come it's my fault? What have I done? But it's to understand that it's just a normal process, and it's something that is bound to happen. And the third one is bargaining. Now, bargaining is also another very interesting and complicated place to be at. At this time, you're trying to almost weigh the options, and you're trying to say things like, if only I did this, probably this person would still be in my life. Or if only this and this and this happened, probably I would still have this situation, or I would still have this opportunity in my life. If only I did this and this, then probably I would not have lost that job opportunity. If only I was more, if only I was if only I was stronger, if only I was more prettier, if only I was smarter, if only I was there on time, if only, you can fill in the blanks. So in this stage, you're really just trying to assess the situation and see, what could I have done better? And is there anything I could have done differently to make sure I did not lose this person or lose this opportunity? And I think this is a very delicate stage, because some people get stuck on this stage and blame themselves for the rest of their lives, or for a very long period of their lives, for a certain loss. And unfortunately, with life, some things are beyond our control. Some things are beyond us. There are some things that it doesn't matter how perfect you are and how good you do stuff, or how perfect everything was. At the end of the day, there are some things that will just slip through our fingers, they will just slip through our hands, and we cannot control everything. Living life as though everything that you have lost is your fault is a very, very heavy burden to carry. And I hope that anyone who feels as though something they lost or someone they lost is their fault, I hope you get to the point to realize that some things in life, sometimes you don't always win. Sometimes there are some things that will fall through. Sometimes not everything will go as planned, and you will lose things, you will lose people, you lose opportunities, and none of those things are your fault. It's just a way of life, and it is what it is. The next one is depression. Now, depression, as you know, we've been accustomed to knowing depression as, it's just overwhelming sadness. Now, this is the period where now the emotions of grief and now realizing the gap that there is in your life because that person no longer occupies your life, or that situation is no longer in your life, or that opportunity is no longer going to be part of your life. Whatever that is, you feel a heavy sadness, a heavy weight of sadness, like a heavy burden, and which is normal. And I think this is something that a lot of people expect to be the only reaction to grief. So I think a lot of us expect when you have lost something to feel the sadness and to feel sad and all of that. And we are a bit more accommodating to it, more than the other feelings and more than the other stages. It's also a very delicate stage because if not managed well, then you can be stuck up in this stage, and we don't want that, and actually get into a place where you experience extreme depression. And I think that is why it's important, even as you're going through a season of loss and you feel as though the sadness is a bit too much and too overwhelming, it is important that you talk to people. It's important that you talk about it. If you need to seek therapy, please do. I think it's a very good way and a healthy way to actually deal with those feelings of loss. And the last one, which is the one that we all aim to get to, is acceptance. Acceptance now is when you've gotten to the point you have acknowledged that this person is no longer in my life, the situation is no longer in my life, it's not my fault that this person or this opportunity is no longer part of my life. I have done everything possible, I did everything possible. I am now ready to work towards continuing with life and learning to live without this person or without this situation in my life. And it's such a beautiful place to get to. This is the healthiest stage. This is that stage that we all should strive to get to. And it's such a beautiful place to be. A place where the loss doesn't define you. A place where you do not feel stuck because of whatever loss you have gone through. Yeah, so those are the 5 stages of grief. And just like I mentioned, just because you do not go through these stages, all of them, does not mean that there's something wrong with you. Because for some people, they don't go through all the stages. And actually, it's not like cast on stone that you need to start with denial, and then you go to anger, and then bargaining, and then depression, and then acceptance. For some people, they just go straight to anger. Others just go straight to bargaining, you know. It's different for different people. Loss and grief is something that people process differently. And whatever season and whatever stage you're in, I just want to encourage you and let you know that it is valid to feel how you feel. However, the best thing to do in such a situation is to, one, for sure, acknowledge where you are, acknowledge that you're struggling, and it's okay to struggle in that season. But how about developing relationships and developing strategies and coming up with ways, example, therapy, that will help you get to that point of acceptance, because that's the most beautiful stage to be at. Yeah, so I hope those few pointers have been helpful. I hope they've been very helpful to someone who's probably feeling as though they've gone through a certain loss and they feel like they don't understand what's going on. I just hope that this video helps you understand and extend kindness to yourself and be gracious to yourself as well. Be kind to yourself. It's a difficult situation, it's a difficult season, but you can be able to get through it. The introspection question for today is, what loss have I experienced that I haven't fully dealt with? Yeah, what loss have you experienced that you feel like you haven't fully dealt with? That is all for today's video. I hope you really enjoyed it. I hope you've learned something, and I hope probably you've identified an area in your life that you've experienced loss, or you've identified a friend or a loved one who is going through a season of loss and you're wondering how you can support them, or you're finding it very difficult to understand them. And I hope this video actually helps you to understand the different cycles and the different emotions and the different things to expect. Yeah, so that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed the video and I'll see you next time. Bye.